Hi, thanks for checking out our channel. Here's going to be hopefully a repair video on this particular unit. It's the Speedrite 6000i. This is a 6 joule output. It's a remote control fault finder compatible unit for Tru-Test and / data Mars. Not a huge fan of this brand just because of the, I'll show you why on this unit here in a second when I open it up, but they are not built to last for a long time. This thing's about 4 or 5 years old. It's a 2019 model. Manufacturer date is when it was built, the first part of 2019. So he probably bought it, you know, summer, fall that year maybe. So we're about 4 or 5 years old. Nice thing about it is a remote control unit, 6 joule, but they're like $500-600 or more for this unit with the remote control and everything. So for the kind of money, you think you get a little bit longer life out of one. I'll show you why they don't last. Also, the remote controls for these, they do not make any parts for the remote controls. So the remote controls, they don't have a whole lot of problem with them, but they do kind of have weirdness and quirks to them as they age on those things. But those remote controls, well, to keep them protected from the weather, don't leave them outside. Don't let them get ran over or stepped on. They've seen last a long time, but you know, if it ever craps out, you throw it away and buy another one. So let's plug this in here. We'll see what it does. Alright, it's not coming on at all. So first thing we want to check. This one's never been worked on because it's got this black plastic plug right there blocking up the screw. That's from the factory, so it's never been worked on before. Let's check the AC adapter. This is supposed to be about 12-13 volts right here. We're getting about 14 volts out of the thing, so we know that that's good. Why won't it turn on? Let's plug this back in. Nope, now it's coming on. Well, what's wrong with the thing? Sometimes what these things will do, we'll open it up and take a look on the inside. As they run for a while, they eventually get a little bit warm on the inside and start to shut down or slow down. And oh look, see, there we go. Now we're having trouble. As I was saying, as they run for a while, they get hot. Things start to shut down when things are acting wrong. So, module problem. Capacitors don't go bad on these things very often. Neither do the transformers. The capacitors will get weak as they age. But I'll show you why. Eventually what's going to happen to this unit, if the guy just ran it the way it was, doing good enough, I guess let's keep it running for a while. Well, it might run for another 6 months or a year or 6 weeks, whatever. And eventually it's going to stop altogether, or it'll flash just a single light on the front, or it won't pulse right at all, or whatever. And you know, that's because the boards finally went kaput. And kind of money they want you to pay for this particular brand and what they are on the inside, kind of ridiculous. But let's first thing we got to do, we got to get this plastic plug out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little small screwdriver here. Let's see if I can pop it out of there. Come on. I probably just shoved it further in. That's probably what I just did. Oh, there it goes. It's just a dust cap to slow you down. Doesn't have nothing else to do but that. They're just Phillips screws. There's 4 of them on this model. Now, parts are real expensive for these things. The parts are not cheap for this brand. Oops. Knock the screw out from the floor. And I'll show you here in just a second. As soon as I open it up, we'll see real quick what the issue is and why they don't last. But this is how they design them. I'll tell you why they design them this way, or at least my personal opinion why they design them this way. Alright. See how this is the main module. They also have this little board here. It's built in with this. This thing's all caked with this epoxy gel. It comes like that from the factory. And see, it's all dark and hot looking, all black looking, all kinds of little parts inside here, over there, all these little chips and pieces like that. But you can see it's all caked with this gel epoxy resin type stuff. But they do that for two reasons. The main reason is this unit is a dual powered AC/DC model made to be outside in the weather. There are no seals on this case at all, so to keep things protected so they don't get water damage, and they have this little groove all the way around the thing to kind of block off moisture. Hopefully it doesn't hit anything. Like this board's not sealed up at all, the LCD. They cake these main boards in that epoxy to waterproof them basically. But the downside is they get hot. Electronics, when they run, they get warm. Look at computers and video game systems. They all got those big cooling fans in there to kind of cool things down, just because electronics get hot as they run. And it's like a light bulb. Light bulb gets hot as it runs. So it's just the nature of the beast with electronics and stuff. But the transformers is sealed in epoxy resin on the inside, and same with the capacitor, still this blue resin on it, so they don't go bad that often. But these boards go bad quite often. That's the main problem with these stupid boards, is they just get hot as they run, and as they age, they fail. And what's going on with this one, as it runs for a while, something in the board is getting too hot and shutting things down and where it won't put out full power. So the only real option on fixing these stupid things is to put a new module board in there. And the new boards aren't cheap. Cheaper than buying a new unit, but still not cheap. This is a brand new board. Now, parts have been hit and miss on availability. They've had lots of delays. I mean, we're in 2024, and in years past, it's been 6 months, 8 months, 4 months, 9 months, give or take, to get the parts and stuff. But look at all these. This is what it's supposed to look like. This one looks like it's brand new. See all the little components everywhere. Look at here. Can't see a dang thing. It's all just gotten real hot. Another reason why they kind of do this is there's no screw down points to keep the board from moving around. There's no little screws holding this board in place. So the this board's got little screw down pieces right here. See all the screws holding it in there. But this board here, that board there is not screwed down or anything. It's just sitting there. So to keep it in place, they put that resin on there to keep that board from moving. Same with this board. So that's the other reason why I wish they would design something new that would get rid of a potted epoxy resin. No other brand out there does this. Gallagher doesn't do it. Parmac on the 12 volts dual power stuff, Parmac doesn't do it. Power Wizard doesn't do it. Cyclops doesn't do it. I said Gallagher, all the Zariba, the cheap brands, expensive brands, none of them do this epoxy resin stuff, and it's just it's a downside to the design. I mean, the layout of the unit is nice. I mean, they're using nice looking electronics. They got nice setup. Looks like it's pretty much well thought out in the way they build and put the thing together. But these parts are so dang expensive. They're not cheap parts. They are cheaper than buying a new unit for $700, but still $600, whatever the hell they go for. But the thing's 4.5 years old, give or take, when the guy bought it. And so it's just past the 3-year warranty time. So that's the real shame of it. They have a 3-year warranty. As long as they get over that warranty. The manufacturer probably doesn't really care. You know, we don't have to fix it for free, so it doesn't cost us anything. You know, they're not going to pay us to pay to get the parts. You know, either we buy them or someone else buys them, puts it in there, whatever. They're making money either way. So they're real easy to work on though. To get the, you know, you can't. It comes built into a new front case. You see Datamars on there versus Tru-Test, because Datamars owns Tru-Test now. Well, they've owned it for a number of years, you know, 7-8 years now as of 2024. But basically what we gotta start doing is just start unplugging stuff. We're gonna unplug that cable there. We're gonna unplug, we're gonna take this little lightning rod out, we reinstall that in a new one. We're gonna start unplugging these wires off of here. And then plug this one here. It's like a spade connector on there, so let's unplug that. And then we'll unplug the transformer. There's 2 wires here. This little, come on. If they could redesign how this thing is put together, not use that epoxy stuff, they'd probably get longer life out of it. Because I've had a lot of people send me these things in that are like disgusted once they figure out what it looks like on the inside and why it fails. Like, man, I paid all that money for that thing. That's how it's built. I'm like, yep. And they're like, oh, if I'll fix it this one time, I'll never buy me another one. And so I don't buy another one. But some people will have 3 or 4 or 5 of these dumb things, and over the course of 8 years, they'll end up sending one or all of them in for repair eventually. Okay, so let's get this board out here in a minute, but let's pull these knobs off, because you got to swap over all your bolts. And we'll put and then how I pull them out, usually I pull them from the outside in. It's kind of pressed in there, locked in there. I need a smaller Phillips. I think this is going to be too big of a bit to get these out. Gets it out of there. There's this bit that I just used to pull the back screws out. It's a little big. See, in Speedrite, 20 plus. This style unit came out like 15, 17 years ago, so it's been around between 10 and 15 years ago. They've been around quite a while with this generation. And they've come out with some newer solar units, but they haven't come out with any new plug-in models. Well, the large ones they have, but not these mid-range and smaller ones. That's the board just kind of sits on like that. The LCD just kind of rests on there, not even has this little foamy piece that kind of makes contact these little brass or gold pins, whatever, plates. And then it sits on there and you put it back in there. So I'm going to set it on this one. This board, I mean, you cannot get any schematics for it. I mean, there could be something wrong with that SCR there and there, but man, you got to dig out quite a bit of epoxy just to be able to get to it. Then you got to be able to find the right one. That big one over there, big three-legged thing, that big black thing right there, the square thing in the middle, it's a triac. You got 2 small ones right there, side by side. Those are some sort of SCR. But you'd be in a mess trying to dig all that epoxy out just to get the board out of there. It's a freaking real nightmare. I wouldn't even really, unless I was in the business of fixing boards on everything that came in here, which we do try to fix boards when we can, but this type of setup, you'll waste more time than it's worth. So now the first thing we'll do is we'll slide that LCD board down like that. And then we'll start putting the screws in. I'm going to put the next size smaller Phillips in there. And these have to be kind of snugged in pretty tight. because that LCD's got to make contact with those little pins. So you want them in there pretty snug, because if one of them is not quite sitting down all the way, that little foam piece won't be making contact to one of the little brass gold-plated pads. Then it won't the LCD won't work right. Like, part of it will, part of it won't. Or none of it will. I don't want to turn it too hard and strip them out, so that's why I didn't let it crank down all the way. Plug that in. So that's done. Now we'll put in the these deals here. The way I do it is there's probably a couple different ways of doing it, but this is how I do it. They only go in one way. You have this kind of flat edge there. So it's rounded around the sides, and you have this flat edge right here. You see it's got kind of an opening over here. Like on this one's got the opening right there. It doesn't go all the way around. This one's got the opening going that way. So that's how you know which way to put it in. So kind of get it pushed in there. Watch it has this little rubber O-ring on there. Make sure it doesn't roll up on itself and get bound up. So once you get kind of started, you can kind of, I think if you put one other way, might be able to put the knob on there. Once you kind of get started, you might be able to put the knob on there and help pull it in all the way. That doesn't always work. It didn't work that time. So what I usually do, take a bigger flat screwdriver, put it in the slot, kind of pull and twist and turn, and kind of force it in like that. See, it's all the way in there nice and flush, and it keeps it from backing out on you when you're working on it. I always put the knob on there, that keeps it from backing out. And all four of these bolts are all the same. There's no different. Make sure the little O-rings in its little groove where it's supposed to be. And kind of get it seated in there. Make sure it doesn't roll up on itself. Kind of get it half started. And you put the finger on the back so I kind of help push. And I go in there and I just kind of twist and pull. So I rock my screwdriver back and forth as I pull. And you kind of see it kind of go into place like it did there. And that's the single lightning bolt, so that's my half power. The other one's got the 2 lightning bolts at full power. So half power is our yellow knob. See how that one's rolled down? So I'm going to roll it up. And if you're like a repair place and you work on these circuit boards like this, get a hold of me. I get these things in periodically, and if you're pretty confident you could fix the boards and all you need is just this board minus everything else, I will send it to you and you can rebuild them for us, and we'll have some good used boards for cheaper price than what a new one goes for. Now this is our earth return wire. That's our black knob, not the green knob. Black knob goes there. Most people don't use that black knob. It's there for keep tabs in the ground voltage. Because you want to grab on the sides of this, or you'll score up the threads on that bolt. Don't cross thread it either. Come on. Okay, now let's check the capacitor real quick just to make sure it's fine. They don't go bad all that often, but check it just in case. This is a 30 microfarad capacitor, I believe. Yeah, 30 microfarad, 1000 volt. So I'll put a meter on capacitance. There's no polarities, put it across there to there. 29.2. And there's no polarity to which wire goes to which spot. You know, as long as you pick the 2 tabs, it doesn't matter which, if it's on the left or the right of those 2 tabs. And then where the transformer go. Oh, there it is. Transfer sits right there. Yeah, I'm not going to bother checking the transformer. They don't go bad all that often. Okay, now we'll start plugging wires back on. That's kind of loose. I got to put that lightning rod back in there in a minute. Make sure out of the way of all the screw holes. Tuck those wires behind there. Let's put that back on. Take this yellow wire, put on top of that one. This is a ground return or ground reference deal. Okay, let's put this switch back on. We have this little piece here. This switch has a little magnet inside there. That's what talks to the board. See, the switch itself doesn't actually make contact to anything. It just talks to these little, I don't know, they're called proximity switches, or I can't remember what they're called. Not proximity switch. I can't remember what they're called. Anyways, a magnetic switch, and it talks to the little black things there. And that black thing kind of talks to the different points of the board. It tells the unit how to run. So you put that just push it over there, back on the front, and then you take the back cover. Hold on. Make sure that piece stays on there, the switch piece. There's that. And then get my screw gun out, or my screwdriver out, get the right. Second screw. Luckily, I keep the screws in stock. Oh, using all sorts of things. This one might be a little bit longer, but it's the same thread size. All right, let's get the cord on it. Plug that in, put that back up there, flip that over. Oh, shoot. I gotta replace this power strip. It's mounted up underneath my overhang on my bench here, and it's shoot, hold on. Give me a second here. Okay. There we go. I really need to replace this power strip. Plug it in there. That was a little more secure. All right. We'll test it, let it run here for a minute, but I doubt it drops off. It probably stays at 9,000 to 10,000 volts the whole time. and put on half power terminal down here. It'd probably be about 4,000 to 5,000 volts. This gauge is being a little wonky. Yeah, about 4.5 to 5. Pretty normal. Still running. I think by now the other one was starting to have trouble already. See, it's done. It's clicking right along, so issues are in that main board, but poor thing. I mean, if this was in this gel stuff, this thing would probably run 10, 15 years or longer, who knows, before it had trouble, but they built them like that, and they only last, put this dumb thing back in there, I forgot. I'll take it apart and it's like a little notch. I'll show you where it's supposed to go on the old case. It goes in right there, a little notch right here, a little V-notch. Sits in right there, 2 more right there, and 1 at the very end. It's going to sit in there like that. That's like a lightning spark gap for the protection from lightning, hopefully on the fence and ground side. The goal is, or the idea is that it comes in on this side, the fence terminal. This is your ground terminal. The idea is if it comes in on, if it's hooked up to the red terminal, lightning's on the fence, comes into the fence, jumps across that gap, runs down, jumps down to the ground. That's because lightning's trying to go to ground the easiest way possible. So the idea is to jump, use that little passive resistance to go down this rod to ground versus burning up the board. And typically that does its job most times. It does have an MOV right here for lightning protection, surge suppression on the fence and ground side. There's your inductor that they use for the fault finder, remote control, or the fault finder part of things. A bunch of other fancy electronics in there as well. Alright, well this one's done. We'll shut it down and move on to another one. Well, thanks for checking our channel. Until next time, we'll see you guys later on.